Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Let's run the testing 1 2, testing 1 2. I can't hear myself. I can hear myself a little bit. There we go. There we go. Hey everybody, this is Tecker 10. This isn't Tecker 10. This is Tennyson Easthead, the creator of Jump Rangers. Tecker 10 is my gaming handle, and I usually stream Star Citizen first thing in the morning on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. But I decided that it's a good idea to get a little bit more personal and to give people the chance to talk to me about, gaming culture or just geek culture, my work as a screenwriter, what's going on with Jump Rangers, anything else that people want to talk to me about on a Monday morning. It's a nice way to start the week. It's also very important that I start putting kind of more of a human face on everything that we're doing with this game. Um, so, because this is our first chat, I guess the first question to tackle is, what are we doing with this game? I, okay, Ippy Looney's gonna sign on and ask me questions in case nobody else logs on for a little while. But the the gist of it is that the tabletop role playing game is a very strong working prototype. During our last session of metagame, which is our Saturday gameplay session with devs, we came across some things that need to be changed about the character advancement system. I'm going to be doing that this week. So anybody who is keeping up with updates on the game files can expect a new rules of the game chapter 4 update over the course of the next couple days. I've just finished the rough draft of a Jump Rangers novel for young readers, and I've already been editing it. I have a stream on Tuesdays. No, it's on Thursdays now. I lied. Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Hang on one sec. Thursdays Pacific time, 5 p.m. Thursdays, where I read stuff that I've written for Jump Rangers. Right now, we're finishing the book, and I'm editing it on stream, and then there's going to be more revisions of that. On top of that, uh, I've 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 got a whole backlog of content that needs to be updated for Jump Rangers 2.0. There's a whole rebalance that came with my last revision on the core book, and I've got one major supplement left to do, which is the lightning job. That'll be the next thing I do on Ranger Stories, and then I've got dozens of micro supplements, data deck files they're called, which I've written some of them on stream. That wasn't as popular as stream, so we've gotten away from that. Rangers Roost is kind of replacing that. We'll see how this goes. And we've got Federico Estevao, who is a Brazilian concept artist who has become our art director. And he is working on some key art for Jump Rangers right now. We've got a couple of designs of spaceships and characters. We've got a core, basic, initial handful of concepts that we want to make sure that we have locked in. Um, and we're just about done with those. And the key art's going to be built on that. And then we will have an ongoing. We gotta sit down and look at the actual book and decide what we need pictures of, build a plan for page layout. So one of the things that Federico and I need to do is hire ourselves a page layout person, somebody who can actually design the tabletop role playing book itself. And then we'll start cranking through the artwork and the design that we need to achieve that. And we'll go from there. Part of the plan for the design of Jump Rangers is to build it in such a way that we don't need to sort of reinvent everything every time we get into new media. We want designs that work in TV and film. We want designs that work as toys. And Federico has been very careful to show me how everything is physicalized and how everything is real. Everything fits where it needs to fit. And I think that's a little bit unusual for a tabletop role playing game, but it's paying off. And it's going to make life a lot easier in the future. So we know that we're not designing ourselves into any corners. And we can maintain a sense of fidelity to the universe and the world building that we're doing now down the road. So that's nice. Ipiluni is giving me wayward glances. It's a slow download. It's because I'm streaming. That's the reason. Um, and that's kind of where Jump Rangers is right now. There's a lot of tabletop role playing game content. Some of it needs to be updated for the rules, but we're in the middle of that. The book is fun. I'm enjoying the the pass that we're doing on stream, and there's going to be a lot more rewrites. The voice, I think, is more than anything where my attention needs to go. I'm pretty happy with the structure, and I need to make the voice feel more compelling and more fun to read. I think that's the next step. What else? Uh, I've been doing a lot of ghostwriting as a screenwriter for the last 2 years. I can't really talk about any of the projects that I've finished, but most months I'll write at least one screenplay. Some months I've written two. I will say that the clients that I've been working for have been consistently very happy these last few months. That doesn't always happen, but I'm on a winning streak, and that feels pretty good. Makes me feel like my writing is reliable and solid. I had a meeting. I'm up. Usually 10 o'clock is kind of. I'll do some exercise and I'll do my morning pages before I go on stream. This is usually my first kind of public or social event of the day, but I had a meeting with a client in Germany this morning, so I was up bright and early. I had a meeting at 8 o'clock, so I was showered and exercised and everything by then. Hippie Looney, what's morning pages? Morning pages is, well, so this is something that I know a lot of creative people do, where I'll just get up in the morning and kind of info dump and take anything that's in my head and write it down in basically a journal. I time myself because I don't want to take too long. I give myself 30 minutes to write or 2 pages, whichever one comes first. What's that? Ippy Looney says, I don't just talk a lot, I can write a lot too. That's Ippy Looney's my wife, if anybody's not aware. Um, but, you do that for long enough and you start to become a lot more intentional in how you use those pages. I have two basic goals that I try to achieve with any morning pages session. The first is to figure out what I need to do that day. And I have my plan for today already locked in. I know what my goals are. Um, I have a meeting at 1, which I need to be aware of. Uh, I'm ready for the meeting. I'm all prepared. Got everything done for that before this session started. So that's good. And I was organized in my thinking because I did my morning pages. And the other thing is that I need to take more time and more intention with my self care. And the morning pages are of the first opportunity in the day for me to stop, check in with what I'm feeling, what I need. Um, my emotions are a little harder for me to read than they are for many people. I'm neurodivergent, and one of the symptoms of that is that I'm alexithemic. Um, Ipiluni says it's not a symptom. It's a what is it? A comorbidity? She says Ipiluni says it's a comorbidity. I'm calling it a symptom. Basically, what that means is my emotions are not as present for me as they are for other people. My emotions are like in a box that I have to peek inside to see what how to quantify them and what they're feeling. But I have emotions. I just don't have room for them in my in my brain or in my self. So they're a little externalized, and I have to literally check in with them and see what's going on. And I do that. Um, and and the morning pages is a good opportunity for me to sit down and say, okay, what am I feeling? What does it mean? What do I need? And so it helps me organize my day logistically. Does it help with jump rangers? Well, I think that I think that being more emotionally. You mean the morning pages? Hippie Looney means the morning pages. I think that being stable and intentional helps. I think that being focused in my efforts over the course of the day is helpful for jump rangers. I think that more has gotten done with jump rangers because I do this and because I'm deliberate and intentional with my day, you know? So yeah, but it's not direct. Sometimes I'll solve jump rangers problems. There's been a few times where I wake up and I'm like, I still haven't figured this out in my morning pages. And I'll figure it out in the morning pages. And that's great. But to be honest, solving creative problems tends to work pretty fast for me. And I think Ipiluni will attest to that. I'm pretty handy at it. So if I sit down to resolve an issue, I work through it and then it's resolved. And Jump Rangers is a little bit different because gameplay is a little bit more about iteration and experimentation than screenwriting. That's not true for everybody. A lot of people need to see the actor perform something before they know what's going on. But I I've worked with actors long enough that I know what tools an actor needs, and it's not. I don't get a lot of surprises in rehearsals and things like that. I get more surprises when we're playtesting. So you know, I've solved probably more Jump Rangers problems in my morning pages than I have screenwriting problems because I just don't need that space for that. But uh, yeah, it helps. It's good. So that's what that's about. I journal. There's a lot of stuff in there. If anyone, I will tell you, hackers, if you ever get your hands on my journals, you're gonna that's you absolutely can destroy me with those. So good luck. Um, what else are we talking about? What else is going on? Ippy Looney's shrugging. Apart from the screenwriting, and I haven't really written anything for myself in years. It's been a couple years. The last thing I wrote for myself was Nemesis, which was when we were still homeless. So it's been about 5 years since I've written a screenplay that wasn't for a client or for someone else's project. Um, Jump Rangers has kind of been filling that role for me. But when I'm not doing screenwriting and when I'm not doing Jump Rangers, a lot of the time I am playing Star Citizen. You can follow my stream. I have a personal gamer stream, pretty much just exclusively Star Citizen at this point. And Tekker10 is my handle on all my games, so you can find me at twitch.tv/Tekker10 if you want to watch some of that. Um, I don't know. I'll tell you what, Ippy Looney, you're the one who's always telling me that people need to see a more personal side to me. What do you think? What do you think is the personal stuff that people should know? Any thoughts on that? Why Tekker10? Um, so I in high school and college played a lot of White Wolf tabletop role playing games, and I got into it through the World of Darkness games, which many people are familiar with. Vampire the Masquerade, that's one of the World of Darkness games. There's a werewolf game. There's a wizard game called Mage, and a handful of others. And I thought they were pretty cool, and I liked playing them with my friends. In hindsight, I will admit that there's a lot of appropriation in those games that hasn't really been thoroughly addressed. Um, but White Wolf started working on a sci-fi adventure that I was very excited by. It was called Aeon, and eventually Aeon Flux sued them, and they renamed it Trinity. And it was not what I expected it to be, and I think that was true for a lot of people. But it was a very thoroughly realized science fiction universe. They wanted to do something different than Star Wars, different than Star Trek, and they did. And the aesthetic of it is a lot more organic in the sense that like there actually is a lot more biotech, and um, there was a whole kind of mythology around psionic powers that drove not just the games, not just the game's plot, but also the technology and the world that had been built in Trinity, and it was really interesting. And I wanted to play this game with people, and it was oh, I'll tell you that in a second. If Looney's tired of listening to me talk about Trinity already, no, you're you are asking me personal stuff. That's really good. So you're doing your job. So it's how it is with when you get a new role playing game. You want to play it, but nobody wants to play it with you. I ran a couple games of Trinity, and I'm a pretty good GM. But Tucker was a character that I always wanted to play and never got to play because no one ever ran Trinity but me. Tucker's appeared as a NPC in a couple games, and people like him, but he was my Orgatech fighter pilot, and nothing ever came of him. So when I log into games, uh, Tekker is taken a lot of the time because Tekken is a very popular game, I'm assuming, and that's why. But Tennyson is my name, so Tekker 10 is usually available. And that's why. That's why. So now watch this. Watch everybody go on to the games stream. It's going to start disappearing. It's out there now. It's out there now. Um, how did Jump Rangers came to be? Well, so there's layers to this, of course. But I started writing role playing games in college, and my first game is something that I definitely want to revisit because I think there's a lot of value in it. It was a hard science fiction time travel game about time commandos called Restorers that are going back and changing history as spies and infiltrators and all this and that. And ultimately, the idea is that humanity we are doomed to self destruction. We can't help ourselves, but maybe it doesn't have to be tomorrow. So the restorers are always trying to buy one more day. Restoration is, I think, a very cool universe. I think it does need to be updated, and there probably are some parts of it that are clunky and outdated and very 90s, and I would love to go back and fix all that stuff. And I think probably Restoration is also a universe that Federico would love to sink his teeth into. It's you like Restoration? You like it better than Jump Rangers? Maybe Looney likes Restoration. So maybe we'll play a Restoration game. But that'd be cool. But I built the system, which I think the Jump Ranger system is a lot cleaner. But the basis for Jump Rangers is in Restoration, and I finished the game. I didn't really write any supplements. I just moved on and wrote a fantasy game because I was dating someone at the time that liked fantasy better than science fiction, and I thought I could get her to play it. And the fantasy game was way too brutal and way too intense. And in hindsight, I made a lot of the same mistakes that a lot of other fantasy writers have made in terms of cultural appropriation. I am not happy with that game. I don't think you can find that game anywhere right now. It might be on Drive Through RPG, but it's not on my website. And um, and it was called Shardfall. I think the basic concept of it is okay, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's good in the same way that Restoration is. Um, But by the time I had the idea for Jump Rangers, I had already written two role playing games. So I knew I could do it. And I knew that I had something in terms of gameplay that was appealing. Restoration's pretty crunchy. And and I had to change the system radically, and it got a lot better for those changes. And taking it in a completely different direction actually helped it a lot. But I went to see Prisoner of Azkaban in a movie theater while I was working in film finance, and I got so angry at the movie because it's a passive story. It's very reactive, and because these kids are the protagonists of the story, but there's always authority figures telling them what to do and moving them through their own story, and it just felt kind of. I mean, it works as a novel, but it felt very untrusting of the children as a piece of cinema. They're not handing the story over to the actors, um, and I found that really frustrating. And I wanted to fix it. So, kind of the initial thought of Jump Rangers is they give the kids all this magic, they give them the wands, but they don't give them the leadership. They don't give them the responsibility or 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 any of that. They don't give them the agency. And so I walked out of Harry Potter feeling angry about that. Might not have been Prisoner of Azkaban. It might have been Harry Potter 6. The Deathly Hallows? Is that No, it's the one before that. It's the one before that. It's the one at it's the one after Order of the Phoenix. That's what it was. And I was mad because he Dumbledore just led Harry on this whole journey. Harry really didn't. Harry was just like right, but no, after Order. This was the movie that he died in. It was right before Deathly Hallows. Ippy is telling me I'm wrong. I'm not wrong about this. I'm shocked that I'm right about something Harry Potter and Ippy is wrong. This is not the way life is supposed to be. This is not the natural order of the universe. I'm I understand the conviction that I must be full of it. I'm not. So I walked out mad, and I thought, okay, so how do I give the power to the kids? And then I thought, well, it can't be fantasy because I, it won't hold my interest as much. I've already written. I'm done with fantasy. Um, Ippy Looney's looking it up right now. And then the next one, Order of the Phoenix, and then what? That's the one. Half Blood Prince. That's the one where Dumbledore dies. Because Dumbledore takes Harry on the adventure. He shows him all the things, and they're looking for the first Horcrux. Well, they're looking for a. They've got the pool with all the ghosts in it, and the thing in the middle of the pool. I, I remember it very clearly. Yeah, and that's the one where Dumbledore dies. And then the seventh one, and then you've got everybody in the wake of Dumbledore's death in in the war, and that's the seventh book and the two movies. So so um, I I thought, okay, well, if you were going to do a science fiction adventure, how would you put the kids in charge? And I thought, well, you would need to be in a situation where being a kid is advantageous. If the kids were going to be leading humanity in some science fiction setting, which is it sounds unlikely, you would need a setting that made being a child useful in a way that people don't think of being a kid as useful. And that's where I thought, well, okay, so humanity has been invaded by giant monsters. There's giant bad guys everywhere. And that's just even putting aside the whole being small, being adaptable, I think that the problems of Jump Rangers are pulpy enough that a child is more psychologically equipped to deal with them in some ways. Not in real life, of course, but like kids are going to be like, yeah, let's handle the dinosaurs, let's handle the robots, let's take care of business. And I think the grown-ups would think it was silly. And that in and of itself is the fact that the setting is pulpy and full of adventure is kind of what hands it over to the kids because the kids can be trusted to commit and believe in that setting more completely than a grown up would. And so this isn't there's gritty elements to it. There's real problems. Humanity is struggling to survive, but it takes someone with passion and it takes someone with imagination to lead humanity to a better future from where we are and to even comprehend the scope of what humanity's dealing with. And so Jump Rangers evolved out of that idea. And so I'm not going to give the kids the wands, I'm going to give them the blasters. But I'm also going to give them the authority. Jump Rangers are, you know, in charge. They really are. There's part of the problem that the book that I'm writing now is that the adults are trying to take control from the Jump Rangers. The Jump Rangers have to assert themselves, and they do. Thank you very much. Hang on, I got a medicine. So from there, I kind of had three key images in my head, which we may never actually do as images, but one of them was of the interior of a Saurian mothership and just a couple of Jump Rangers, maybe on a quad bike or something, running from Rexor, like Jurassic Park, but in a very science fiction setting, in a big metal tube with grates so that the Tyrannosaurus Rex can run around the interior of the tube. And that's kind of how I see Saurian interiors in general is great places for Rexors to run, and then off to the side and in the walls and all these places are where the undersaws do their work. So that was one image. Another image was of a group of kids, Jump Rangers, watching a Saurian mothership descend from the sky and feeling a sense of command and ownership, like a faithfulness to it, but in a very beautiful setting. I had a little beep. I wonder what that was. Am I getting alerts? I don't think it's important. I think we're fine. So that was the second sort of visual cue for me, and the third was the entrance to a human colony, maybe like a cave with some tech built up around it, maybe like a big blast door or something, and then an old grizzly human scout, just played by George Clooney, just out there waiting, keeping an eye on things, and then this little kid in their Jump Rangers fatigues emerges from the brush, and the grown up has a look of relief on their face, like, oh, phew, thank goodness you're here. We actually need some help, and that to me kind of encapsulates the emotional scope of Jump Rangers. Those three images in my head, and that to me says, you know, these kids really are heroes and leaders, and they're the ones who are figuring out how to solve the problem of humanity's expansion into the stars. So that's where it started. And then the next question was, okay, but how do I make this extremely crunchy, obnoxious system that I've written for restoration? How do I make that fun and playful? How do I, you know, how do I reduce it, simplify it, and find the stuff that's whimsical about this thing that was never supposed to be whimsical? And that's how the engine of Jump Rangers got built. And I I think it's really great. I think it works. I'm actually really proud of the gameplay of Jump Rangers. I think it's one of the most fun role playing games that I've ever played. Ippy Looney needs my wallet. So that's the answer to that question. Thanks. This doesn't have to be a super long stream. This is half an hour of content. That's something I can upload to YouTube. But is there anything else you think I should be talking about this morning, Ippy Looney? How long have I been working on Jump Rangers? Since Half Blood Prince came out in theaters. So what's that? Like 15 years? I, I've taken huge breaks from it. I've taken huge breaks from it. I wrote the system up. I wrote the core book out, and I played it with my composer Dan and a good friend named Danielle K. Jones, one of my actors Gerard Barzilli, and a handful of other people. And Ippy Lee was going to throw me my wallet while I'm on stream. That's a terrible idea. Thank you. Um, and that's that. You know, we had some great times. We play tested it out. I was very happy with how it played. I still have some video of one of those games, and it was ridiculous. We were all being really silly about it. Ippy Looney says it doesn't seem as silly anymore. Well, we've had some pretty silly moments. You guys are finding it. Ippy Looney and Federico are doing a lot. You know what I will say as well, it used to be much more overpowered. It was much more ridiculous before. And I think we're gonna build our way back into that. I think that these characters are they have to be a little smarter about how they do things. But it's as they gain skills and virtues in training, as they gain virtues in training, I think things are going to get out of hand pretty fast. I gotta unlock the car. Um, let's see here. So I forget what the question was. It had something to do with how long I've been working on Jump Rangers. So I was doing a lot of screenwriting. I set it down. I was working on building out a couple of feature films that I was trying to produce at the time, and um, as many people know, I was hit in the head with a sword in 2013. I suffered a traumatic brain injury, a subdural hematoma, and by 2018, I was homeless. So I wasn't I wasn't making as much headway on my film career. I was still writing screenplays, and I actually AD'd my first movie. I did a lot of important things during that time, but I needed something that I could see immediate results on, and that I could build with the resources that I had on hand. So I went back to Jump Rangers. I started re-editing the text, and then the pandemic hit, and we wound up working out of a house in Phoenix, thanks to the good graces of a dear friend, until the pandemic passed. And I was working enough and as a script doctor that we were able to afford this place in West Hollywood, which is where I am now. And during the pandemic, I think a lot of people needed that same thing that I had been looking for with Jump Rangers. So I managed to finish editing the book, the core book. I started writing supplements, and at this point, I've written 5 of those and a whole bunch of micro supplements, dozens and dozens of them in the data deck files. And the universe of Jump Rangers really started to expand pretty rapidly at that point. That was pretty cool. I figured out what the little blink is that I'm hearing. It's Mastodon. Somebody's Mastodoning me. Ah, what a goofball. All right. So that's kind of where it came from, and that's how we got to this point. About a year ago, I was having a conversation with Ippy Looney, and there's been a lot of life changes in our home. Ippy Looney's lost their vision. There's been some big challenges that we've had to deal with, and I'm always telling people something that I was told when I first started working in theater, which is that you can have 2 goals in show business. If you try to do more than that, you're going to overextend yourself. You can have your show business career and one other thing. And at the time, I was trying to succeed in screenwriting, and oh good, I was trying to build Jump Rangers, and I was trying to build a healthy home. That's 3 goals. And if you Looney asked, if you hang on one sec. Um, That's all I can remember. I don't know what I was talking about. Um, if Looney asks what my favorite part of Jump Rangers is. Oh, well, I think it's very colorful, and it's fun. Yeah, I think the fact that it's fun is my favorite part. I think it's just that simple. I like it, so that's half of it. The other half is that I think the idea that kids have power as individuals, independent of who their parents are, independent of their circumstances, that they themselves have the power to affect change is shockingly subversive. I think that Jump Rangers is the kind of project that if people really stop to think about it, they might find it a little bit dangerous. But it's so healthy and it's so positive and it's so fun that I think it's hard. It's a hard fight to win. You know what I mean? I I I think that it challenges people to question the systems and the structures that we think are so important and that we think are so necessary to society because kids are doing things a better way. And I think that that's scary. So that's the other half of it. It's fun, it's delightful, and at the same time, I think it's a little bit terrifying. And I think I need that in my work to keep me interested. I need to be a little bit scared, or it's not going to work. There's not enough to keep my interest. And I think that giving kids that power and letting them decide what to do with it is the kind of thing that parents will be okay with to a point, but they won't know when they've crossed that line. The kids will know first. And by that point, I think Jump Rangers is going to be something people love too much to let go of. You probably shouldn't tip your hand like that, but that's something I love about Jump Rangers. What's that, my love? That's a good end note. Alrighty. So this has been our very first Rangers Roost. We'll do this once a week. We'll start our week this way. I think it's a good opportunity to sit down with people and talk and set the tone, set the pace for the week. What are we doing this week in Jump Rangers? We have on Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time in Los Angeles time. We have Rangers Ranger Stories, which is we're still working on the novel, which is called A Game Called Conquest. We're gonna read the next chapter, chapter 22 of A Game Called Conquest, and then on Saturday, if all goes well, we'll have metagame and we'll play a little wrap up from the first story arc with Federico and Ibiluni before we go into the next story. Um, that's exciting. And behind the scenes, there's a lot of work to do. So I will be working on fixing the experience system when it comes to training for sure. That's something I want to get done this week. There was one other note that I had, but it's in my notes. I'll take care of it. And then from there, uh, hopefully I'll be getting a screenwriting job, and I'll be streaming Star Citizen Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at this time. We don't stream on Wednesdays because that's Disney Day. That's when I take Ippy Looney to Disney. So join us. We're on Blue Sky. We're on uh, Instagram. We're on Discord. And at some point, we're going to be making something of our Reddit subreddit. We do have a subreddit, which I'd love to see people participating in. So if anybody has questions about Jump Rangers, come find us. We're very easy to find. Um, I'd love to get Federico on one of these Rangers Roost shows. I think that would be cool. Um, and I think he would do it. He's very passionate about the project. He's consistently making huge contributions. I have really lucked out in finding him as a creative partner. Anybody who doesn't know his work can find him on Instagram. Ask me on Instagram if you don't know where. And I will see you next week. Don't be a stranger, Ranger. Take care.